Okay, 9.1. Talks about variations and proportionality. And we're going to talk about 3 different types: inverse, joint, and direct. When something varies directly, in this case I'm going to say y varies directly as x, we get the formula y equals kx. What's important about this formula is that it's the word direct, and that the 2 pieces, whichever one I read first is the one that's going to go first, and whichever one I read second is going to go on the other side with this k, which is a constant. This k is something that we're going to have to be finding in each of our problems. But it's always a component of every formula. It's always in equals the other side. But what's important is directly tells me how to put the relationship of my 2 pieces. So y goes on the left side of the equal sign, x is going on the right side, and it's with the k. So when something varies inversely tells me the 2 pieces are on the same side, and that k is alone on the other side. And I'm multiplying those 2 pieces. So inversely puts them on the same side. Jointly, when things are jointly proportional or varies jointly, we are talking about 3 things. There has to be a minimum of 3 things. So z goes first. Varies jointly tells me the other things are on the side of the k. So jointly as x and y, the other 2 pieces go on the other side with k. So directly, inversely, jointly tells me how I put the relationship of my pieces together. They're either on opposite sides, they're on the same side, or I have 1 on one side, 2 on the other. And jointly always is going to have 3 pieces, minimum. Instead of the word varies jointly, you might see proportional. Z is varies proportionally. Y is proportional. It means the same thing. Variation, proportional, same wording, same setup. Nothing changes with that. K in all 3 circumstances is a constant. It is a number that you are going to find. Okay, so let's look at an example here. It says y is directly proportional to the square of x. When y is 12, x is 4. Find y when x is 6. Now there's a very specific way you're going to do every single one of these problems. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up the first piece of information. So y is directly proportional to the square of x. So that's the formula you're going to use. Directly proportional means the 2 things are on opposite sides. The one I read first goes first. K is always there. And then it tells me the square of x. So that's the square of x. It's not the square root of x. It's the square of x. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to plug in the information that's given so that you can find k. So 1, we're going to set up the equation. Step 2, we're going to find k. So we know what y is. Y is 12. We know what x is. It is 4. So when I solve this, I'm going to get 12 is k 16. So k is 12/16, which is 3/4. And yes, we're going to use fractions. We're not using decimals unless it is it's a big word problem already including decimals. All right, so we set up the equation. we find K. And then the third thing is we're going to use K to answer the question. So it says find Y. I know what K is. I just found it. When X is 6. So all I'm doing is substituting. But I have to know my original equation to know to substitute correctly. So this is 3/4 times 36, which reduces to 9, and a total of 27. These are the 3 steps that you're going to do on every single problem. You're going to set it up, you're going to find K, and you're going to use K to answer the question. All right, let's try it again. C is inversely proportional to D. When C is 8, D is 3.6. So find C when D is 4.5. Now we have decimals in our problem. We'll be able to keep our answers as decimals. But first we need to set it up. C inversely proportional means same side as D. Now we're going to find K because I know what C and D is. We get 28.8. Now we're going to use the K to find C when D is 4.5. Divide by it. We get C is 6.4. Okay. Next. R varies jointly as T and S, and inversely as the square of V. T is 3, S is 18, V is 5, R is 3.78. Find R when T is 4, S is 12, V is 3. Okay, so now we got 2 pieces of information going on here. One thing at a time. R varies jointly, so that means the other 2 pieces are over here, T and S. Inversely means same side. So inversely, same side as R, is the square of V. I write my problem as I read it. So I first do varies jointly means I have the first equals K and then 2 more pieces. Those 2 pieces are T and S. Inversely tells me I'm going to be on the same side, square of V. Now I know all my pieces. I need to find K. So let's see. I have 5 squared. R is 3.78. K is what I'm finding. T is 3. S is 18. So on my calculator, I got 25 times 3.78. And I'm dividing it by 3 times 18, which is 54. So K is 1.75. There's decimals in my problem. There can be decimals in my answer. Now I'm going to use K to find R when I know V, I know K, I know T, and S. So 1.75 times T of 4 times S of 12, all divided by the 9, and we get 9.3. Write your equation, find your K, and use your K. All right, one last word problem. Gotta write this one out. The surface area of a cylinder varies jointly as the radius and the sum of the radius and height. A cylinder with height of 8 centimeters, radius of 4 centimeters, surface area of 96 pi centimeters squared. Find the surface area if the radius is 3 centimeters and the height is 10. So simplify everything down. First of all, come up with the formula. Surface area of a cylinder. Well, those are just extra words that complete a sentence. Varies jointly tells me I'm going to have equals K and 2 more pieces. The 2 pieces are radius and the sum, so sum means 2 things, radius and height. Again, go back over that. The surface area varies jointly as radius and the sum of radius and height. Now it tells me the height is 8 centimeters. So I'm going to find K when I know radius and height and surface area. And that always has to be the case. They have to give you every letter in order to find K. So in this case, I have 96 pi equals K, and then 4 times 12, which is 48. And 96 divided by 48 gives me 2 pi. And we're going to leave it as 2 pi. Now we're going to use this K to find the surface area when the radius is 3 and the height is 10. So here we got 3 and 13. So that's 39 and 2. So we're going to get 78 pi centimeters squared. It has to have a label because it is a word problem. It tells me in my original problem what that label is. And because my original problem had pi in it, that's why we're leaving pi. Instead of going 78 times pi and coming up with 245.04, leave it as terms of pi. Don't change that. But that's a type of a word problem that you might have using direct, inverse, and joint.